Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Pleb Underground, the signal without the slop. I'm your host, Phil. All right. Let's take a look at what we've got going on today. Of course, we're gonna start it off with some Hopium, and guys, tomorrow's Friday. I want to make sure we end the week right. It's going to be such a concentration of Hopium, and apparently we need it, right? Because Bitcoin is dead at like 107K or something like that. We're dead. It's over. 107 on the way to zero, right? Every single, it doesn't matter where we are, it's always on the way to zero. All right, so yeah, the Hopium, of course, this time it's different though, guys. We've got a chart. It's got a chart that shows this time it's different. We've got some comments from Larry Fink, Fed rate cut, and a bunch of other happiness that we are going to take a look at that should remind us all, we just got to zoom out. Just got to zoom out, keep stacking, and make sure that we aren't living beyond our means so that we don't end up in a crappy situation where we have to sell Bitcoin when we don't want to. When we don't need to. Anyways, got another SBR update. That's right. That's right. The nation states, they're all too happy to say they want to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're going to talk about it. Paper Bitcoin summer. That's right. Even though it's not summer anymore and we're in fall. Got some of that going on. And instead of stable coins, I'm just calling them fables because that's what they are. That's right. We're going to take a look at some fables as well. But before we do that, we're going to give a shout out to the Pleb Underground sponsor. We're going to be back in 30 seconds. We're going to dive into all the fun. Let's go. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. Okay. So, let's start it off. This chart. This time, guys. This time it's different. Officially, the longest Bitcoin cycle ever. That's right, guys. Uncharted territory. We've never seen this. We have no idea what's going to happen. It's also scary. So we are now in uncharted territory with this current BTC cycle extending further than we ever have before, assuming we haven't already peaked. That's right, guys. That's right. This time it's different, Hopium. I mean, look, I think there is an argument to be made for the for the ETFs coming to the space. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a lot of inflows into the ETFs. There's also the in-kind redemptions that have started, right? So the authorized participants, i.e. these other financial institutions, well, guess what? They can actually go and redeem the Bitcoin itself for their shares. So, I mean, is it different? I guess we can, you know what? I guess we can lend some credence to this, right? We can say, okay, this time it's different in the sense that Bitcoin is more mature, right? 16 years, 17 years. So in that instance, we can say it's different. However, human behavior is still human behavior. Cycles of greed, exuberance, fear, that's all still the same. But look, I do have some hopium that, for whatever reason, we're going to have an extended bull run, maybe into early 2026, right? January, February, who knows? I'm not really seeing the same dynamics. I know that a lot of people are attempting to kind of shoehorn this particular run into previous runs. I myself have done this as well because, of course, right? I'm just trying to understand. But in all fairness, I just don't feel like we hit that point of exuberance. I definitely haven't had any Uber drivers talk to me about Bitcoin. I haven't had anybody at any of the the casual fast dining places that I go to talk to me about Bitcoin. So, I don't know. I think this cycle, I think we still have some fireworks to go. So I'm betting on the fireworks. Okay. I'm hoping on the fireworks. Anyways, okay, moving on from that, let's continue on. Hey, you know what? Let's go take a look at Larry Fink's comments here. Larry Fink's comments. Very telling, very telling.
If you believe that countries are going to continue to debase their currency, if you believe that there's going to be global rise of insecurity, owning crypto assets or gold are assets of fear. You own these assets because you're frightened of the debasement of your assets. You're worried about your financial security. You're worried about your physical security, and between crypto assets and gold, they believe, there's a strong belief that is a good hedge against optimism.
Okay. So look, you'll notice he can't say Bitcoin anymore. It's crypto asset time, right? Why is it crypto asset time? Yesterday, we announced that BlackRock, along with Cantor Fitzgerald and ARK Investments, right? They're going to be bringing this platform, this company, Securitize public, right? Which one of the things that platform does is real world assets, which is just shitcoins pretending, right? And it's obviously all being enforced through an oracle and an institution. It's a whole bunch of trust me, bro technology. But it's interesting, right? It's interesting how before, like, what, 3 months ago, not even 3 months ago, 2 months ago, it was Bitcoin. Now, all of a sudden, it's crypto assets. So look, make no mistake, guys, make no mistake. There only is, like, I hate quoting Saylor, but there really is only one crypto asset, and it's Bitcoin, right? So let's just be honest. This other stuff sounds fun, right? It's interesting to play at the circus, but you know what? Something, a saying that I've recently heard that I really enjoy is, when the ball is over, right? When the clock strikes 12, all the horses and carriages turn into pumpkins and mice. So just something to think of when you're thinking of these crypto assets, right? When the party's over and the music has stopped, those crypto assets, it's just pumpkins and mice. Okay. There's nothing behind them. There's absolutely nothing tying the token to anything real world, any of this stuff. So just, got to take that at face value. So sorry, Larry Fink. That's, you would have just stuck to Bitcoin, it probably would have been better. But of course, you can't go against your incentives, and your incentives are to now shill crypto assets. But make no mistake, none of them are a hedge against money printing, except for Bitcoin's the only one that's actually a hedge against the money printing. Anyways, all right, moving on. So here, it's a little bit more for the TradFi people, right? Total Bitcoin open interest hits an all-time high, $94 billion. So TLDR, high open interest plus rising price equals strong bullish momentum. That's essentially that's the TLDR on that. Right. But it just means essentially that the outstanding futures contracts, that number is 94 billion of them that haven't closed or settled yet. Right. So again, this is why it's in the Hopium, right? Because it's a whole lot of hope. So, all right, let's continue on. We've got more. I've got some comments here from you know what? So yesterday we got the comments from Jay Powell, right? Jerome Powell. Right, got that Fed rate cut, 25 basis points, or 0.25%, right? Because for some reason you have to call them 25 basis points to sound a whole lot smarter. Maybe it's just about giving it its own language. But either way, the market didn't care. Like the market really, it's like it was all priced in and didn't really care about that. However, it is noise. Okay, it is definitely noise. And the other piece that also didn't do what a lot of people thought it was going to do was the Trump tariffs update. Right, we ended up getting that update this morning about his deal with Xi Jinping in China. Nobody cared. The markets actually went lower. And of course, right, everybody's going to speculate on the different reasons, why the market went lower and all that stuff. But this just did not move the needle. And if anything, all it was just a bunch of can kicking for a year, right? Like in the end, right, US and China agreed to a 1-year truce in a bid to reduce escalating trade tensions. So this is just some kick the can down the road technology. That's really all that is. Meh. Yeah, I know. I was kind of bracing myself for a giant nothing burger from all of that, but I was hoping, I was hoping that that was just going to send all the markets higher. You know, just why not? Right? Why not? It'd be perfect timing, right? Going right into Thanksgiving. I still believe that that's happening. I'm still of the belief that all of a sudden it's just going to crank into Thanksgiving and rallying into Christmas. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. That's again, this is my hopium, right? All right, moving on from that. Let's see, what else do we have besides the Fed rate cuts? Okay, so here's some interesting comments. This was an email trail back and forth, right? A lot of new people. I don't know how much time they spend looking at bitcointalk.org or going through Satoshi's communications. Yeah, seriously, I should call it the Trumpium segment. I like that one. Yeah, that's a good point, Salty Crayon. Nobody cares because everyone is still broke. It's true, you know. Unless you're in the stock market, right? Unless you're in the stock market or you're holding Bitcoin, like you're just not feeling any of this happiness. But yeah, sorry. Going back to the original story, right? So I don't know how many new people really focus on bitcointalk.org and the emails between Satoshi and Hal, let's say, and a few of the other people. But when I first came to the space, this was something that was very important to me just because I wanted to have context. And this is a really interesting one right here, right? This was a back and forth between Satoshi and Hal just did this interesting experiment, right? So let's dive into it. As an amusing thought experiment, imagine that Bitcoin is successful and became the dominant payment system in use throughout the world. Then the total value of the currency should be equal to the total value of all the wealth in the world. Current estimates of total worldwide household wealth that I have found range from 100 trillion to 300 trillion, with 20 million coins, 21 million approximately. That gives each coin a value of about 10 million bucks. There you go. Some solid hopium right there from Hal, right? And keep in mind that was 16 years ago, right? That was 16 years ago, and Hal was already all about the hopium. So, I mean, hopium is like freaking baked into Bitcoin, pretty much at this point. Okay. Anyways, next up, we are going to take a look at the. Let's go take a look at the strategic. Maybe the strategic Bitcoin reserve news first. Yeah. Let's go there. All right, guys. Strategic Bitcoin reserve. Germany, right? Germany proposal by AFD sparks national debate. What? A national debate over holding Bitcoin? So AFD wants the German government to hold a part of its reserves in Bitcoin. The party believes that Bitcoin can protect against inflation, obviously, and add diversity. Wow, look at that. Bitcoin's become the diversity play to traditional reserves like gold or foreign currency. The motion highlights Bitcoin's ability to act as a non-sovereign asset, meaning it's an asset that's not controlled, by any government or institution. The motion will now be discussed in Germany's parliament. AFD will need to persuade other parties to support the plan. If passed, Germany may start small pilot programs, gradually moving a portion of reserves into Bitcoin. And something I do appreciate, maybe, is it possible that Germany learned a lesson from that Bitcoin sale that they did a few months back and just totally missed out on all of these billions of dollars? Is that possibly, like what's happening here? So this party is actually coming out and being like, look, guys, we've made enough mistakes. Let's try to get it right. Either way, I've said this before. I don't really, I don't care about governments stacking corn because in my eyes, they're never going to actually do it in a way that doesn't take away from its population, right? They're either going to steal it or they're going to print money to buy it, which just makes everybody poorer anyways. And the mental gymnastics they're going to do to justify that are going to be equally as cringe and gaslighting. So I'm not interested in any of that. However, it does play into the game theory, right? It does play into the game theory. And the reality is that for markets to work, we require all participants. So game on, That's where I'm at. I'm at the game on portion of this whole entire thing. All right. Last up, I think. Nope, not last. Not last, guys. Second to last here. Let's take a look at this. I wanted to stablecoins. Stablecoins. That's right. Tether. Tether now holds $135 billion worth of U.S. treasuries, surpassing South Korea as the 17th largest holder. I got to be honest, I didn't realize South Korea was such a major holder of U.S. treasuries. But that's my own naivete, I guess. I've said this before. Tether is really the only they're the only one that is playing the game as well as they are. Not a fan of stablecoins, but I also understand the government playbook, and I also understand that they have no choice but to continue printing into infinity. The whole entire economic system derives from the original debt, and which is just something for nothing, and now all of a sudden you owe. So in terms of Tether, they just understood this, and not only did they understand this, but they bet on it, right? They risked their business model on it, and they were right. You know, as much as I don't like necessarily what they do, I don't really care for the government, essentially offshoring its debt as much as possible everywhere. I don't care about that stuff. But you're right. They're playing the game the best, out of everybody. Everybody else is just playing catch up to Tether. And if you think for a second that these other players, right, aren't super pissed that they weren't there first, right? Like Circle and all of that stuff. Yes, they are. Okay. They are super pissed that they didn't figure out how to play the game as well as Tether did. Okay. So Tether got in touch with the right people, right? Cantor Fitzgerald. Then all of a sudden, boom, Cantor Fitzgerald auditing. And at the same time, telling them what they should be purchasing. It's like an advisor. It's like a good advisor. Yeah. All right. Okay. Last but not least, guys. Here we go. The paper summer Bitcoin. That's right. This is the carrot on the end of the stick. I even talked about this, I think, yesterday or the day before. Strategy now has a 70% chance. 70% chance of joining the S&P 500 before year's end, according to 10x Research. The company is going to report their Q3 2025 earnings on Thursday, expected to show a $3.8 billion gain from fair value BTC accounting. That's right. Because when your business has no actual cash flow from operations, all you have is that Bitcoin appreciation. But you can't really pay your employees with that Bitcoin appreciation unless you sell some of that Bitcoin, or you use another debt instrument to raise funds in order to keep the lights on. So, I mean, look, I've gone through this before. I've explained this in the past. Even if, and I think this was like 6 months ago, even if Saylor never, even if they, if they don't sell any of their Bitcoin, which they're not, at least for the foreseeable future, he already had 17 to 22 months of runway in cash. And that was about 6 to 8 months ago. So it's definitely that S&P news is just the carrot on the end of the stick. I personally, I don't think he's actually going to get into the S&P this second time around either. I think that to a certain extent, right? It's just kind of like a watch and wait type of thing. I don't think he's in the club yet. And the reason why I say in the club is because there's other businesses, okay? There's other businesses where, let's say they split off one of their companies, right? Like an older business, right? Like a Gillette or a Procter & Gamble or something like that, right? Let's say they go and split off one of their businesses. There's a good chance their business is going to end up as part of the Standard & Poor's faster than MicroStrategy. So I do believe that it is an old boys club, and I think that they are going to make him sweat, right? They're going to make him sweat. They're going to make MicroStrategy proverbially sweat. And I don't think they're going to get in this time. But research is showing 70%. We're going to find out, guys. We're going to find out. It's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the first or second week of December. We're going to find out whether he gets into the Standard & Poor's. obviously, if he doesn't, I'm not even sure that anything will happen in terms of, you know, the MicroStrategy shares. I just think it's a giant nothing burger. However, I do think that the opposite is true if MicroStrategy does get added to the S&P. I actually think it's kind of interesting. I think that if he doesn't get added, it becomes like a nothing. But I think if he does get added, it becomes a very positive catalyst, you know, for you know, at least for MicroStrategy. And I mean, like in terms of Bitcoin, giving Bitcoin attention, there'll probably be like a tiny little pump, but make no mistake, that doesn't change any of the fundamentals, you know? So yeah, that's a good one, Mr. Business. Very, very true. MSTR is only $30 above its year low. Exactly. Like this is baked in. You know what I mean? Like if they don't get in now, everyone's going to be like, oh, okay. It's like I think that people are overly bearish at this point, specifically on that, right? And it's not just MicroStrategy. I mean, you take a look at all of these Bitcoin treasury companies. I mean, it is absolutely brutal what has happened to them, and it's par for the course, right? It's par for the course. We're going to end up seeing which ones actually sink and which ones swim. Anyways, guys, this is going to do it for today's live episode of Pleb Underground. Thanks again for joining me. And tomorrow, we are going to be back. Going to dive into the news. Like I said, I'm preparing a massive Friday Hopium day. Okay, so in case we somehow are dead at like 105K tomorrow or 106K, don't worry, I got you covered. We're gonna be okay. I'm not gonna say we all gonna make it. I'm just gonna say we're gonna be okay. All right, we're gonna get through this together. Anyways, have a great rest of the day. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take it easy.